Hey guys, this is God of Politics. Welcome back to a brand new video, but before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also join the Discord that is linked down in the description and check out the website, which is also linked down in the description. But in today's video, I do want to do a continuation of the kinds of videos I was doing yesterday. Yesterday's video was the top 10 most likely states to flip in the presidential election. Today's video will be the top 10 most likely states to flip in the Senate elections for both parties. So let's get right into it. Now, number 10, the 10th most likely seat to flip, I believe, is the Georgia Senate election, the normal Senate election with David Perdue versus Jon Ossoff. Now, David Perdue's not that good of a candidate if you actually look at it. If you look at the 2014 Senate election, his first election, he won by less than Mitt Romney did in a red wave year. And, sure, he did well in these, Gwinnett and Cobb counties that are trending towards the Democrats, but he also didn't do as well in the rural areas. So this election, he's probably going to do better in the rural areas and worse in the suburban areas, which is going to be a net loss for him. And the polls haven't shown it too close in the election. If we do look at the election, it does have Perdue up 2.8 percentage points here. Sure, we had a poll here and there that has Ossoff up, but the main gist of it is that Perdue should be able to win. I currently have it as lean R, but I do still believe it is the 10th most likely state to flip. Actually, let's put that in the blue column because it's flipping to the Democrats. The number 9 most likely state to flip in the Senate elections is Georgia's special election. Now, if you do look at these polls for the special election, it is currently Raphael Warnock versus Kelly Loeffler versus Doug Collins. And then we have, some other candidates. We've got Matt Lieberman, we've got Ed Tarver. But currently, we look at the polls and Warnock has really shot up in a lot of these polls. The last 4 polls have all showed that Warnock has been winning. But the way it works in Georgia is if nobody gets to 50% of the vote, there is a runoff that occurs, end of December, beginning of January. So currently Warnock is winning in terms of the polls for the general election. I do think he will come first place. I do probably think that Loeffler is going to come second place. I think she has more suburban appeal, less rural appeal, which is what Collins has. But I do expect Warnock to come first and Loeffler to come second, which historically with special elections for the runoff or with the runoff elections in Georgia, Republicans have done better in the runoff elections. So I don't think that Democrats have too much of an ability to win in the runoff election, but it is the 9th most likely state to flip. Now, the 8th most likely state to flip, I do believe, is the state of Michigan. Now, if we do look at the state of Michigan, we look at the 2014 results, Gary Peters' first election. He won by 13 percentage points. Now, he's probably not going to win by 13 percentage points. I can actually guarantee he won't win by 13 percentage points. But currently, he's up, by a pretty solid margin, 5.1 percentage points. Some recent polls have had him up even more. We had Emerson having him up 10, Change Research having him up 8, Reuters having him up 7. Even Trafalgar Group had it tied. And, in 2016, they overestimated Trump by a little bit in the state of Michigan, but expect, them to be accurate to an extent. But Gary Peters is doing quite well in the polls right now, but John James is doing pretty well in terms of the fundraising data. And, Michigan is a state that Donald Trump did win in 2016, but the reason I don't see it as likely to flip is that I do think Donald Trump is going to have to win the state by a couple points to pull John James over the line. Part of the reason Gary Peters isn't doing as well in the polls is because he's, not that much of a well-known Democrat. He's only at 47.5% of the vote. So sure, all the undecideds could go to James, but when you have a generic ballot or a generic Democrat on the ticket, I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that Gary Peters will do, maybe just as well in these suburban areas, but he will do worse in the rural areas to John James. But I do think that he is going to be able to win regardless. And then the 7th most likely state to flip is the state of Montana. Now, Montana is quite an interesting state because we look at the 2014 results. Steve Daines won by 18 percentage points. Then we also look at Steve Bullock. He is the current governor of the state, and the Democratic senators have been elected in Montana in 5 of the last 6 elections. Montana also hasn't elected a Republican governor since 2000. So, it has been close in a number of elections. And, recently you had a poll that was pretty bad for Steve Bullock. I believe it was an Emerson poll. He was down maybe 7 percentage points or something. But he has had some decent polls over the last couple of months. We had a PVP poll which had him at 2. New York Times CNN had him down 1. Or Emerson actually had him down 9. But due to the fact that Steve Bullock is quite a popular governor running against Steve Daines, who isn't the most popular senator, he does have a chance. And while I don't think it is the most likely scenario to happen, I do think that it is definitely more likely than all 3 of these other seats. Now, The sixth most likely state to flip is the state of Iowa. Now, Iowa is quite an interesting state for the Senate because Iowa is a very swingy state. You look at 24, actually, we can go back to 2012. 2012, Obama wins the state by 6. We look at the 2014 results here, and we see that Joni Ernst won her seat by 8-9 percentage points here. And then we also look at the presidential results in 2016. Trump won by 9 percentage points, but then in 2018 Democrats won the popular vote in the House races and got pretty close in the governor races. But part of the reason I have this in the blue column is due to the number of polls that have had her up. And it's not even about, Quinnipiac polls and WHO TV 13 polls showing her up by a lot. It's about this Des Moines Register poll. Now, I've calculated this before. Des Moines Register has an average error of around 2%. And, the average error on a partisan basis is only D plus 1.5. So don't expect it to, be 2% in favor of Joni Ernst, and she only has to improve 1% at that point. The thing is, Greenfield's in a very good position in that Des Moines Register poll, which is the gold standard poll of Iowa. And, she's been doing better in fundraising. Joni Ernst is unpopular. The way that Teresa Greenfield is going to win is doing better in this area with the 1st district is in the northeast of the area. This is the area that's trending reddish. She can kind of buck the trend and do better in these, or, kind of limit the damage in the rural areas, but also doing better in the Des Moines area, which, Bruce Braley only won by 4 percentage points, doing better in Davenport, maybe winning it, doing better in Cedar Rapids. So if she can do that, she will be able to win her seat, and I do think that is, very, very possible. The 5th most likely seat is the state of North Carolina. And I haven't talked about North Carolina Senate since, a lot of these scandals happened, but we, don't have a lot to gauge how much it is going to affect the election, because if we do look at the polls for the Senate election, we have, I believe, only a couple after the original scandal came out. I believe we have East Carolina University, which I'm pretty sure that was, I'm not sure if it was entirely after the scandal came out. I'm not sure whether they asked about it, but it did go from a tie to being Tillis up 1. PPP went from Cunningham plus 4 to Cunningham plus 6, and, they did ask about the scandal. Did it matter to you? Most people said the scandal didn't matter, and the only people it did matter to were Republicans who were already voting for Tillis. So, will it matter? I think it will matter. I think it is going to hurt Cunningham. I think his chances have been greatly diminished of winning. I think once we see more polls, it will reflect that. He won't be up 5 points anymore. That's my prediction, but it is still a election or a seat that is very likely to flip, in my opinion. Tom Tillis won by 1.7 percentage points against Kay Hagan. They were about tied in fundraising. Cal Cunningham got more fundraising in the third quarter than both Tom Tillis and Kay Hagan did combined in all of the 2014 race, and this was an R+6 electorate. Tom Tillis barely beat Kay Hagan, and Cal Cunningham, he can do better in Mecklenburg County. He can do better in Guilford County and Wake County. He can do better in these areas, even in the Fayetteville area. So what he has to do is, limit the damage in these rural areas. That's kind of the gist of this. Rural areas are trending towards the Republicans. If you can kind of limit the damage of those rural areas, so where the Republicans are not gaining as much, and you can continue gaining these suburban areas, and, from the polls, that's what's, the swing, that's what it's looking like. Whether the polls do change as a result of this scandal, we'll have to wait and see, but I do believe that is the 5th most likely state to flip. The 4th most likely state to flip, I do believe, is the state of Maine. Now, Susan Collins is really in trouble. If we want to look at 2014, she won by 37 percentage points. She won every single county, even the counties in Maine's 1st district, and she won them very, very easily. But then we look at the polls for the Maine Senate race, and she's barely been leading in any of them. Even if we do look at the Bangor Daily News poll, which had Gideon up 1, this also had Trump leading by about 12 points or something, or in Maine's 2nd district, or some number close to that. And I don't think Trump's going to win by that much there. So it seems to have overestimated Republican support in Maine's 2nd district, and in turn overestimating Susan Collins' support. But that poll still had Gideon up 1, and we haven't seen a single poll that has had Collins up since the Gravis poll, over a year ago. So it's going to be very difficult for Susan Collins to win. She's also not doing well in the fundraising. She's very unpopular in the state, and this is a blue state too. So I do believe that she is going to lose. I do believe, she's quite likely going to lose, but we will see as we get closer to the election. The 3rd most likely state to flip is the state of Arizona. Now, the state of Arizona, we don't have a 2014 election because this is actually a special election. I believe this is to fill John McCain's seat. This is a special election. There will be another election for this seat in 2022, but it is just so difficult to say that this election will not go to the Democrats. You look at the polls right now, Mark Kelly is currently up by 7.2 percentage points. And polls in Arizona, at least recently, have historically underestimated Democrats. And if you want to look historically, the polls have been pretty accurate in the state of Arizona. To assume there's going to be a 7.2% polling error is, completely ridiculous in my opinion. I don't think that is going to happen. I think Kelly is going to win easily. I think he's going to win by a likely margin, but we will see how that turns out. And then the second most likely seat to flip is the state of Colorado. Colorado, Cory Gardner is basically dead on arrival. When he said he was going to vote for the Supreme Court justice, he'd basically tanked whatever chance he had left of winning his election. And, he really just does not have any chance anymore. We don't have actually many polls from the Colorado Senate race, at least on RCP, but the polls that we do have shows that he's, not in a very good position. He won by 2.5 percentage points in 2014, and that was the big surprise. But, look how well he did in these suburban counties of Denver. He's not going to do that anymore, and I do think he's actually going to lose by a safe margin here. And then obviously the most likely state to flip is going to be the state of Alabama. Now, the state of Alabama is, a very Republican state, and Doug Jones won because of, scandals for his opponent, Roy Moore. I don't think it's going to be too difficult for Tommy Tuberville to win. He's going to win by a safe margin, and Doug Jones is definitely going to lose by a safe margin. That's, very easy to say. So thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also join the Discord that is linked down in the description, and check out the website, which is also linked down in the description. So again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.